Walking down these empty streets, echoes of the past I meet. Lost and wandering for so long, searching for where I belong. Sunrise breaking through the night, guiding me back to the light. Every step feels like a prayer, promises hang in the air. Come back home, heal your heart, where the love never parts. Come back home, find your peace. In this place, you pay.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to the Dear Brother Podcast. We made it to hump day. It is Wednesday. Good morning, everybody. Good morning on Facebook and YouTube. Good morning, everybody. Let me, who's ever in the room, jump in the chat, say good morning, and tell me how you doing today. Let's do a quick emotional weather report. How you feeling today? What's going on in your life today? Are you all right? As we got to check on each other. It's very important that we see how everybody is. Today I want to talk about, I do have a quick show today. I have a 25 minute, maybe a 23-minute show today. And I want to talk about, let me make sure my sound is good. I want to talk about fatigue. Actually, yesterday, it was very interesting. Is our sound? Okay. Yesterday we came up with a concept and I want to go through it. Yesterday, actually, it's something. I was so tired yesterday. This is how all this came about. Yesterday, I was very, 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 very tired. And I didn't not get on the podcast. Let me see. Good morning, Ron McGee. I'm tired, but I'm good. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's hump day, baby. We got to make it past hump day and then we'll be on the slide, man. What's your plans for the weekend, Ron? You got plans for the weekend? I think I'm teaching this weekend and maybe catch some good boxing. I don't know. What's your plans for this weekend? What you going to do for yourself? That's a better question. Instead of what are your plans, what you going to do for yourself this weekend? That's the real the better question. That's the better question. What will you do for yourself? And I think that's a question that all of us guys need to ask ourselves. What are we going to do for ourselves? Not just what we're going to do. What are we going to do for ourselves this weekend? That's the question. All right. What you going to do for yourself as a man? You know, a lot of times we think self-care is a woman's word. It's not. Self-care is not a woman's word, right? It's for men too. As hard as we work, as hard as we take care of our families and go hard, self-care for us is not just, listen, self-care for a man can't just be the football game on Sunday, man. That's not self-care. That's a getaway. You got to know the difference, brothers, between a self-care and a getaway, you know? It's something that yesterday I was so tired and today, you know, I think it's just fatigue, man. I'm so thankful for the community yesterday. I really am. I was at this microphone exhausted. I didn't know which way to go, which way to turn, what to do. You know what I mean? And just getting on in the community. That's the power of community, man. But out of it, that's the thing. Out of the community and out of it came what? Came a good lesson. You know, came a good lesson. So yesterday we came up with a concept that disability is not fatigue is not a disability. Fatigue is not a disability, right? It's all right to be tired, gentlemen. It's okay to be tired. Tired doesn't say you're weak. Fatigue is a signal. Fatigue is a signal. If you're jumping in the room, say good morning. Tell me where you're from. Tell me your name. Let me say good morning to you. And tell me how you feeling this morning. We got a short show today, but I'm gonna still go through my notes and give you what I got. All right. And so I want to talk this morning about fatigue. Right. I want to talk about fatigue. Let me know in the chat. As anybody knows, let me ask y'all this. What do y'all think? Is fatigue different than tired? Is fatigue different than tired? You know, is fatigue different than tired? Because I want to talk this morning about fatigue, but not just physical fatigue. I want to talk this morning about mental and emotional fatigue. That's big. Mental and emotional fatigue. Anybody ever experienced that as a man? Mental and emotional fatigue. It's one thing for your body to be tired. When your body is tired, you can take a nap, you can get a rest, a good night of sleep, a fix tired, right? But I'm talking about fatigue. Anybody ever been fatigued here? See, it's dangerous when you stay fatigued too long here, right? And there's nothing wrong with your mind getting tired. Your mind, it's a muscle. You work in your mind. You work in your mind to get through your day. You work in your mind to take care of your family. You work in your mind to take care of your children. You work in your mind at work, right? You're supposed to get mentally tired. The thing is, we know what to do when we're physically tired. A lot of times we have no idea what to do when we're mentally tired. And that's what we got. That's what we got to address. That's what we have to address, gentlemen. That's what we have to really get a hold of. What do we do when we're tired here? Right? What do you do when you're tired here? We know you can kick your feet up. You can crack a beer. You can chill. You can get your favorite soda. You go get your favorite meal on a Sunday, kick your feet up, watch football all day. That can give you physical rest. But what to do when you're mentally and emotionally tired? See, those are two different fatigues, gentlemen. Mental emotional fatigue is real, and they're two different things. They're two different things. So what are we saying? Number one, I am going to write this book we talked about yesterday. I started outlining the book yesterday. Fatigue is not a disability. It's going to be an ebook. I think I'm going to put it out. I'll probably try to put it out maybe by Thanksgiving, because we got to understand the power of fatigue, right? And then another thing you need to know is that fatigue is a signal. It's a signal. It's not a weakness. Know that, gentlemen. See, because again, societal pressure makes us go. That's societal pressure. What a man should be doing this. A man should be doing that. Is if rest is not a part of a man's life. You see what I'm saying? See, a lot of times, gentlemen, a woman can say, I'm tired. She can go rest. I'm not saying that this thing that women don't deal with fatigue. I'm just talking to us brothers this morning. A lot of times women know how to go find rest. They know how to go find it. Most times we don't. That's why us as men, we explode, we lose it, right? We don't know what to do, right? Sometimes we do the wrong thing, because women know how to say, okay, let me go do this. Even if it's go get their nails done, their hair done, go sit somewhere. They'll do it. A lot of times, brothers, we'll stew in our own pain. We'll stew in our own situations. Let me see who's in the chat. Let me see. Good morning. Let me see. Ryan McGee, not sure what I'm going to do for myself yet, but I'm being intentional about that. Yes, be intentional, brother. Be intentional. Yolanda, good morning, my sister. Good morning. Right? But let's get back into this. Because I want to give y'all, I got a short show and I want to give you guys everything I got this morning. Okay. So again, I'm going to drop this book on Thanksgiving. I'm making a commitment in front of everybody. I don't know what's today's date. My God, okay, it's the 20th. I'm talking about dropping this by Thanksgiving. It's an ebook. I'm going to get it out by Thanksgiving. Promise. But I want to talk, number one, how do I recognize it? That's the question, because you can never change what you can't recognize. There's two things you got to remember. You can't change, or you can't change something you won't recognize, and you can't change something you won't confront. Right? You have to recognize an issue in your life, and you have to confront the issues in your life. So this is the question. How do I even recognize this? That's the question. Christian, how do I recognize when I am fatigued mentally and emotionally? Most time, this is what it is. You got to realize this. Mental fatigue, it clouds your ability, right? Yesterday, I'll give you an example. Yesterday, if you didn't see the show yesterday, check out my morning show yesterday. I was fatigued. I couldn't focus, right? I was trying to find focus. I'm so thankful for that show yesterday. As much as I felt crazy after the show was over, I felt good, because at least I was happy that I was able to be vulnerable in front of the camera and show. That's why I feel so good about teaching this morning, because I was able to just show, look, this is where I am at. This is how I feel. I hope someone was able to grow from that yesterday, be able to see what that feels like, right? But mental focus, it clouds your ability mental fatigue, it clouds your ability to focus. You can't focus. You can't think clearly, right? And this is a dangerous place for men to be, when you can't think clearly, but you got to act. This is where a lot of us get in trouble, gentlemen. We get in trouble because when we're fatigued, you can't think right. You just most of the time when you're tired, you just want whatever chaos or whatever it is to end. And you see, and when you just want something to end without thinking, A lot of times you'll do something to end the problem, but it wasn't the best decision to make. You got to recognize, gentlemen, you got to recognize when you're mentally clouded, when you're fatigued in your mind. Emotional fatigue, that's when that drains your joy. It drains your relationships around you. So catch that. Mental fatigue takes away your focus. Emotional fatigue takes away your joy. Right? So how do I recognize it? I recognize it when I can't find my focus. You saw it yesterday before your eyes. Couldn't find my focus. Couldn't find it. Fatigue, mental fatigue. It was too much. Right? Now, yesterday, what I should have did was I should have said, you know what, guys, I love you. I'm not going to do this podcast today. Right? But hey, man, I feel good about what we did anyway. We pressed through it. And really, I'm excited that we pressed through it because when I woke up this morning, I said, there you go. We have an example. So you got to recognize, gentlemen, when you are mentally fatigued, you got to recognize when you're emotionally fatigued. Again, when you're mentally fatigued, you can't find your focus. You can't get it together. You ever had one of those days? Anybody ever had one of those days where you just like, look, I can't, when your jacket pocket get caught on the knob of the door, when everything's going wrong? You have one of those days where you just can't take anymore. Anybody ever been there? Put it in chat. Put it in chat if you ever been there, ever said those words, man, I can't take no more. I can't take no more. I can't do it. That's when you're mentally fatigued. That's when your mind is saying, look, I'm over it. Right? I'm over it. That's what you got to recognize. You got to recognize it. Right? So this is the thing. Understand this. Fatigue doesn't just affect how you feel. It affects how you live. That's very important. That's very important to hold on to, guys. Fatigue doesn't just affect how you feel. So understand this. When you feel a certain way, like yesterday, again, I felt tired, right? But it also affects how you live. It affects how you go forward. It affects how you treat people around you. That's why you got to catch fatigue and you got to know it. Sometimes, gentlemen, you got to take fatigue and you got to go alone to deal with that fatigue because you don't want that fatigue to fall on your wife. You don't want that fatigue to fall on your girl or your kids. You see what I'm saying? Now, some people say, no, Christian, you said be vulnerable. Go tell them. There are times as a man where you got to process how you feel before you can say it. You do. Because what you don't want is you don't want your unprocessed pain comes out in rage. Y'all hear me? Unprocessed pain comes out in rage. So you want to be able to process what you're going through, process what you're feeling, because you want to be able to go to your wife or go to your girl and say, hey, this is how I'm feeling. Right? Because a lot of times out of bad feelings, you'll make a decision. You don't just want to make a sloppy decision because you're tired, bro. You don't. Just like they say, you don't want to shop when you're hungry. You don't want to go to the grocery store when you're hungry. You'll buy all kinds of stuff because you're hungry. You're not paying attention to what you're getting. You just pay attention that you're getting something, right? It's the same thing. Don't make decisions when you're tired because you're just trying to get a result. You're not caring about the right result. You understand? So stay on your game. Stay on your game. When you're tired, slow your pace down, right? When you're tired, recognize who to say no to. That's another thing, guys. You know how you beat mental and emotional fatigue? Start saying no to people, right? There's no guilt and shame in saying no. You can say no. You can say no to people. There's no guilt and shame in saying no. Why not? Right? I know I deal with that. I deal with that heavy, like with my kids, right? I don't want to tell my kids no, right? Especially that little one. I don't want to tell her no. So it's like, Dad, can we do this? I could be dog tired. Dog tired. Y'all got kids. Y'all and talk to me. Y'all that got kids, you pick up your kid from school or you make it home from work and your kid's like, let's play, let's do this. And you're dog tired, right? And part of you is like, look, I want to play with my kid. But you know what I start doing? I start saying, give me a minute. See, this is practical stuff, y'all. Don't feel bad for needing a minute and be able to express that as a man. When you're tired, be able to say that, man, I'm tired. I need a moment. Right. And I'm learning to say that because my little girl run up to me, Daddy, she want to play. Her face is just so cute and pretty and bright. And it's like times I would feel guilty about being tired. There you go. I would feel guilty about being tired. Yeah. You can't feel guilty for fatigue, man. You are what you are. And if you keep on pressing on that fatigue, you'll end up running out. Right? One time in my life, I ran out of gas. I don't know how I did it. And I think, but you know what it is? I do. I ran out of gas trying to take my daughter to school. You know why? I've never been that irresponsible. You know what it was? I was tired. I was pushing days and days of teaching and going and going. I jumped in the car and said, look, I can make it. Guess what? Ran out of gas somewhere random in West Philly. I was tired. I couldn't do anymore. You see? This is the thing about fatigue. Sometimes you can't do the simplest thing. It was so simple for me to just go get gas, but I was so out of energy. I couldn't even go get gas. I couldn't do another thing. I was tired. And instead of being guilty for fatigue, you got to admit fatigue, gentlemen. Because again, fatigue doesn't just affect how you feel, it affects how you live. Let me see who's in the chat. Ron McGee, mental and emotional fatigue is what yesterday was. Yes. I just go, without resting much. There's always a problem to solve. Emotional dependency from others and not enough mental check-ins. Now let's dig through that a little bit, Brian. Let's dig through that. Mental and emotional fatigue, right? Mental and emotional fatigue is what it was yesterday. I just go. But now you explain to us why you go without resting much. There's always a problem. This is the question. Is the problem always for you to solve? See, brothers, we are fixers, but every problem isn't ours to solve. Right? And you know what? Sometimes maybe it's our pride that makes us push and push and push. Right? See, that's something else. That's something else to sit there and really focus. Maybe sometimes it's our pride as fixers. Even though you know you're a fixer, everything is not for you to fix. And this is the scary part. If it's not for you to fix, you will lose more than you will help because it wasn't in you for you to fix that. You got to know what's for you to fix. I'm like that too, especially as a giving man, as a person who, you're a giving man, you're a man that wants to give, you're a man that wants to solve problems, you're a man that wants to help people around you. You will always somehow be in that space of let me fix. What if you don't have it? Right? What if you don't have it? What if it's not in your toolbox? Everything ain't in there. Right? Some of you guys who got a toolbox, a drill, or whatever it is you have to fix things. There's times where you go in there and for this problem, you don't have that. And you understand, you see what I'm saying? There's a lot of stuff we understand in the natural world, but we don't want to understand or embrace when it comes down to us. Right? If you don't have it in your toolbox, you either got to go get the tool or you got to find somebody else who got the tool. That's just natural. If you don't got a hammer, you got to either find one, borrow one, and say, you know what, I got to wait. I can't do that right now. We understand that. But with our lives, we don't give ourselves that grace. We think we got it even if we don't have it. We try to have it even if we don't have it. And that's why a lot of us men fall apart. We wind up in addiction. We wind up in breaking our relationships. We wind up being tough on our kids. We wind up being tough on ourselves because we don't know how to say, I'm tired, yo. I'm tired. Let me see. I experience that often too. I almost never tell people no. I feel like I'm disappointing them. Guess what? It's okay to disappoint people. It's okay to disappoint people. Because guess what? You'll disappoint yourself more when you're sick, when you throw yourself. You see, let me tell y'all something. I ran around for 15 years preaching and teaching, not going to the doctor, not taking care of myself, making sure everybody else had what they had. And hear me out, guys. I ran around for 10, 15 years, ran around the world, getting on planes, traveling here, traveling there. And guess what? My kidneys were dying all that time. I never even knew it because I wasn't even paying attention. I was so sick. Let me tell you this. It's a number called the creatinine number. Your creatinine number is the kidney function number. When your creatinine number, a healthy kidney, your creatinine number is zero, okay? It may go to 1 or something if you're sick or something, but usually it's 0. When I went to the hospital, I lost like 60 pounds. I was throwing up everything as soon as it went in my mouth. I couldn't, and I was sick. I was dying, but my wife at the time was pregnant. I couldn't, hear me out. See, this is the mind of a man. I was a fixer. She was pregnant. I said, well, I can't go to the doctor because I knew whatever was going on in me, it was bad, but how do I leave my pregnant wife alone? Right? Because I knew if I went to the hospital, I didn't know what was wrong with me, but I knew I wasn't coming out the hospital if I went in there. And I said, she pregnant. I got to stay. I cannot leave. I got to make sure this baby comes. The baby comes. I'm sick as a dog. And I remember the baby was born. Baby came home. The doctor called. I wrote about this in my book. The doctor called and said, where is your husband? Asking her, where's your husband? She said, he ran to the store to get something for me and the baby, whatever. And the doctor said to her, call him right now and tell him to come straight to the hospital. He's going to die. Honest to God, told her he's going to die. She said, what? I got to the hospital. The doctor rounded the corner. He ran in my hospital room. He looked at me. I'm sitting there telling jokes and laughing and joking. He said, are you Christian? I said, yeah. He said, are you sure? Are you sure you Christian winners? I said, yeah. I said, why you ask that? He said, honestly, sir, based on the chart I'm seeing, when I came around this corner, I expected to see a dead man. I said, huh? He said, your creatinine is 22. 22. Your creatinine is 22. He said, I only saw one man live and he only lived for 6 weeks and his creatinine was 20. He said, yours is 22 and you sitting here laughing and joking? Well, that was the grace of God. But the point I'm making is that I worked for 10, 15 years running around the world, preaching to everybody, laying hands on the sick. I'm laying hands on sick people while I'm dying of a sickness and don't even know it. You see, as a fixer, we drive, we do, and we don't even realize that we're losing everything all at the same time. I got to do a podcast one day on men's health because, and it's very important, gentlemen, that you can't ignore the things that go in your body. Now, I say now, but I didn't know. But when I really think about it, the days on them planes when I was very tired or I felt very ill inside, but I ignored it because I had to hustle. I ignored it because I had to take care of my family. That sounds good. But what happens if my sickness took me out of here? My family wouldn't have me at all. You understand? See, sometimes you got to stop. You just got to stop. Let me see. Okay. Let me see. Yolanda, we thank God for your transparency and vulnerability. Hey, it's all I got. It's all I got. And I think this is what the internet needs, right? The internet, that's why I came on the internet, because I think this is what the internet needs. Everybody has a philosophy, but there's not enough life experience. A lot of people are talking on the internet. Everybody got a podcast, and that's cool. I'm not knocking anybody. But what I'm saying is the internet is full of people who have philosophy with no experience or wisdom tied to it. Right? And so the internet needed real people. The internet needs real people that will come on and say real things, not things for clicks and likes, but real truth for real men and real women that will help them out of real problems. Let me see. You're hitting home, man. I live this. Making decisions before emotional fatigue, loss of joy. Absolutely. That's what it is. Let me give some more notes. I want to feed the people today. I'll get right back to the chat. All right. Right. So you got to recognize emotional and physical fatigue. Again, how do I recognize mental fatigue? I cannot find focus. I cannot find my focus. Right. And guess what? A cup of coffee won't fix that. Right. A lot of times we do that. Right. Oh, let me just smoke a cigarette. Right. Let me get a cup of coffee. Let me get a drink. You see, that's the thing. These things don't fix that. Emotional fatigue, emotional fatigue, mental fatigue, it doesn't fix it. You can drink 9 cups of coffee. It won't fix it. You can smoke a pack of cigarettes. It won't fix this. When you're mentally and emotionally fatigued, the only fix is to pause. Mm-hmm. It's the only way. The only way to fix this is to pause. You got to stop. And guess what, brothers? You got to love yourself enough to stop. And you know what I think a lot of times? If your girl was sick, you would stop. If your children was sick, you would stop. But when you're sick, you don't. Think about that. Think about that. If your girl was messed up, you would stop the world. You would tell your job, man, look, I'll be there when I look, I gotta go, I gotta do this, I gotta do that. You would do that. If your kids were sick, you would say, look, I gotta pause, I gotta, right? But when you are suffering in your mind and stuff, you don't slow down. This is what gets us men. This is why men, black men, white men, see, it's not even a color thing. All of us are dying by heart attacks. They call it the widowmaker. You don't even know when it's going to come. You just driving and driving and driving your life, and boom, they call it the widowmaker. One day you up, one day you down. And I don't think heart attacks start with a bad heart. I think heart attacks start with a mind that's overdriven. And when that mind is overdriven, it begins to affect the body. And when it affects the body breaks down. I believe that any sickness in the body starts in the head. And if you see, I believe that any sickness in the body starts in the head. It's always a signal of sickness before it takes you over. And that's why I'm telling you, brothers, that's why I'm teaching this today. And I'm going to dag it. I'm going to teach it tomorrow. And I'm going to teach it the next day, because we are falling by the dozens as men because we can't recognize our fatigue. We cannot recognize our fatigue. So that's the cost. The cost of fatigue is that you can't focus, right? And again, let me say this to you. Fatigue doesn't just affect how you feel. It affects how you live. Let me see. All right. The next thing we got to really understand and we got to get into is we got to break the stigma around fatigue. There's a stigma around fatigue, right? Especially as men, there's a stigma, right? There's a stigma. And when I teach my Dear Sister podcast, there's a stigma on women too. See, that's why a lot of times we clash with women and we feel like we're so different. And the truth is, women and men are a lot the same. We just won't have the conversation. But women do the same thing. There's a stigma, especially around mothers, moms. There's a stigma that you can't rest. There's a stigma around rest, right? And moms are breaking down and fathers are breaking down. Gentlemen, we're breaking down because of the stigma, because we're worried about what people think. If you don't show up, then what they going to say? Let them say what they're going to say. What they going to say at your funeral. You understand? While you're busting your head and busting your neck to get to everything and get to everybody and try to fix every problem, guess what they're going to say? You worried about what they're going to say if you don't show up at the barbecue. What they going to say at your funeral? Oh, he was at everything. And now he died before his time because you wasn't supposed to be at everything. Everything is not your problem or your portion, gentlemen. Right? It's the guilt. The guilt. That's why you got to make a decision here. Listen, there's an event every single year that I don't want to go to that I felt like at one time I had to go to. Every single year this event comes and I'm like, oh, I dread it because this particular event triggers me. Right? We'll talk about triggers at some point. This particular event triggers me every year. But I felt like I had to go. You know what? I just made a decision. This has been going on for the last 5 years. I decided just 2 days ago. I was walking through the house and I said, you know what? Randomly, the event came to my mind, and I said, you know what? I'm not going. I'm not going because again, for those last 5 years, I kept on telling my mind, you gotta go because of what they gonna think. You gotta go. What they gonna think if you're not there? But for 5 years, I sat there grieved, triggered, upset, going through it in my heart. But I felt like I had to be there. And again, 2 days ago, I sat there and said, you know what? I don't have to do that to myself. How many of you need to say that? I don't have to do that to myself. For who? For what? You're not a little kid no more. You don't owe nobody nothing. You don't got no parent over you saying where you got to be. You're an adult. And if you recognize that there are things that hurt you as a man, trigger you as a man, piss you off as a man, ruin your day as a man, you do not have to submit to that. You don't. You don't have to submit to anything that breaks you. You hear me, gentlemen? You do not have to submit to anything that breaks you. Because when you break down, the people you were doing it for won't give a damn that you broke down. Sometimes, my man, you got to be about you. And that's not selfish. It's preservation. Let me see who's in the chat. Oh, my God. Oh, I'm over my time. Y'all got me over my time. Let me get to the chat. Somebody remind me to come back to this show tomorrow. I got to finish this tomorrow. Let me see. I experienced, okay. Oh, y'all in here. Let me see. Okay. Let me see. Last one. Fatigue just don't affect how you think, but how you live. Absolutely. Fatigue affects how you live. It affects how you live. I don't want to leave y'all today, but I got to get out of here. All right. All right. So number one, let me go over the things we went over. Number one, if you got a record, we're dealing with fatigue. We're dealing with what to do with emotional and physical fatigue. Okay. And I'm teaching this because it's helping me write this book I'm going to put out on Thanksgiving Day. Okay. I'm crazy. All right. So number one, you got to recognize the cost of fatigue, right? Mental fatigue, it costs you your focus. Emotional fatigue, it costs you your joy. All right. Number two, we got to break the stigma around joy, right? We got to break the stigma rather around fatigue, right? We got to break the guilt mindset or the shame of needing rest. We got to break that, right? We got to realize that needing rest is not a weakness. It's preserving yourself, right? Lastly, we got to reframe fatigue as a sign. As a sign, we got to recognize fatigue as a sign or a yellow light that says, hey, something's going on, right? We got to recognize that, hey, you've been working hard. You should be fatigued. You understand? You're not a robot. And though we live in the AI society and everything's robotic, we are not robots. You're human beings. And you got to recognize that about yourself. All right, y'all, I got to get out of here. I'm past my time. I'm sorry I can't do the dear brother the advice today, but always remember, gentlemen, you matter to me. You matter to me. You matter today. Know that you matter today. And even though you matter to me, you got to matter to you. You understand? If you got some stress in your life right now, you need someone to talk to. You need to figure it out. Go on my website, christianwinners.com. You can sign up for a one-on-one donation-based coaching session. A one-on-one donation-based coaching session with me. All right. But y'all have a great day today. I love you guys so much. And say it with me. Say it with me. Yesterday is history. Tomorrow's a mystery. All we got is right now, ladies and gentlemen, what we gonna do with it. Hey, no fear, no shame, no compromise. You're amazing people. Be amazing today. I freaking love you. And I'm out.